Is there further debate? Lady from one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to testify against the bill.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I truly believe that this bill has come with good intentions, and I truly believe these two sponsors want to end abortion in this state. So I am not, I just don't want anyone to feel that that is not the case. But what I'd like to do today is share with you how you can advance the pro-life movement by voting no against this bill. Because there's three major problems with this language in this bill. Number one, it does not defund any abortions or abortion clinics in Idaho. Number two, it violates the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. And number three, it puts language into our code that does not currently exist that allows health districts, cities, counties, and the state to use public dollars to fund certain abortions. So point number one, it does not defund any abortions or abortion clinics and can actually help fund Planned Parenthood lawyers from money with lawsuits. You're probably likely thinking, right, we're always accused of, anytime we have a conservative idea or try to do something on pro-life, we get sued and end up paying. We always get threatened with lawsuits, and that shouldn't stop us from pursuing. But this time, I think the AG has it absolutely correct. Mr. Speaker, if I can have permission to just read one sentence from the AG's opinion on this bill. Without objection. Thank you.
A good lady may read just one sentence.
Just one sentence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In context, he's talking three things that need to be added to this bill to actually make it defensible in court. And he says, number three, any qualified Medicaid provider under Title 19 on the Social Security Act. So he's talking about, I guess that was a fragment of a sentence. So. What he's talking about is Title 19 money. And so while the good gentleman that ran this bill is saying that we're going to stop this fungible money, you can go to our new Idaho state controller site and you can look up all the money going to Planned Parenthood in this state. And there are actually only 2 providers of abortion in Idaho with 4 locations. One is three of those locations are Planned Parenthoods, and the third is an OBGYN, Darren Wyrich. And so those are the only 4 places in Idaho that are getting money for abortion, or getting money. They're not getting money for abortions, they're getting Medicaid Title 19 monies. Now let me just tell you what the current federal law says. The Medicaid Act says you can not pay or withhold funds from a qualified Medicaid provider, even if those Medicaid providers perform abortions. And so Planned Parenthood and this Dr. Wyrich, they both are receiving up $400,000 in total. Planned Parenthoods are getting about $300,000 of that. And then the other guy's getting about $100,000 of that. That is Title 19 Medicaid money, and you cannot withhold Medicaid money because of the Ninth Circuit law. You just can't do it if you believe in judicial supremacy, which this approach is judicial supremacy. So I want to go to point number 2. House Bill 525 puts language into the code. It currently does not exist. And what this language does is it allows health districts, cities, counties, and state to use public tax dollars to fund abortions. The bill, it's written nice and neat, and there's 4 sections, but on page 1, I'll just read the language from the bill. On page 1, line 26, it says abortions eligible for public funding under circumstances where the abortion is necessary. And that's talking about county. Page 2, it allows in the cities, abortions eligible for public funding. Line 23 states abortions eligible for public funding, and then public health districts. We're putting this into code, and what you may hear as a defense is, well, we already allow certain types of abortion for rapes and incest in code. Yes, we do. Under Title 18-608, we allow that. But what we don't allow is we don't allow public funding to actually fund these. And that's what we're putting that language. That language is not currently in code. It is not in code right now. And this bill puts it in code. And then my last point. I truly believe that this bill, it violates Article 1, Section 1 of our Constitution. So the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, says that all men by nature are free and equal and have certain unalienable rights, among which are enjoying and defending life, liberty, and securing safety. Since our oath is to the Constitution, and it's not to the Supreme Court guys, it's to the Constitution, I don't see, our Constitution is the supreme law of the land, the supreme law of Idaho. I don't see in our Constitution where it gives us the right to murder anywhere in there. The other thing is that our Constitution says that all people have equal rights. And considering that this bill is allowing taxpayer funds to kill some people and not others. And if I can remind you, our state law says a fetus is a baby, and to kill that baby is murder. So we see that fetus as a life. But we're going to put in this language that it's going to be allowed, and we're going to use taxpayer dollars to do it. And it just doesn't, right now, that $400,000 being paid to these 4 providers, that's federal money. And I understand that is federal money, that's our tax dollars. But now we're saying health districts, and we're saying cities. So you can do a 1% city tax, and you can actually put in a clinic now with taxpayer funds if you're performing certain types of abortions. So I think just in closing, I want to talk just briefly about why our state continues to allow the murdering of babies in our state. And it's because of this federal judicial supremacy. You know, we hear terms like Roe versus Wade, it's the law of the land, and we have to obey the courts. But I'd like to challenge you to think, what if it was Roe versus Remington? Or what if it was just Roe versus Remington? And the question we were asked, the federal court tells us...
There's a good lady referencing one of our body with the term Remington.
Oh, no. Excuse me, Mr. Speaker.
All right, good.
No, I'm sorry. I was
Jones or Smith. Well, we got
okay.
Smith.
Let me rephrase that. What if it was Roe versus Browning? See where I'm going with this? What if it was a gun thing? Okay, not a baby thing, not Roe versus Wade, Roe versus Browning. I didn't even catch that. I apologize.
Or Ruger.
Or Ruger, yeah. Roe versus Ruger. I like that. So, and now we're going to have the Supreme Court say, well, if you have guns that were built before a certain date or purchased before a certain date, they're illegal. Or if you have a black gun or a certain type of gun, and what Roe versus Wade, which this is based on, the judicial supremacy, is saying, babies before 24 weeks we have no say in, and we bow down to that decision. So what if it was guns? What if it was Roe versus Ruger? And the court said, no, you can't have Rugers, you can't have any guns if they were built before this date or you bought them before this date. Do you think our state would bow down to judicial supremacy for that? I don't believe we would. I really don't believe we would. And that's why I think it's so important with this bill, with 525, we cannot bow down to these, to allowing the murder of more babies just because this gets us somewhere, because I don't believe it's getting us anywhere, and we're actually codifying more language that is going to hurt our state. So I can't vote for this, and others may testify against this bill, and I'm sure their reasons are going to be polar opposite of mine. But I want to say why I cannot vote for this, because it does not protect the right to live and be free of being murdered when it actually allows taxpayer monies to pay for the aborting babies. I can't vote for it because I didn't take an oath to the Supreme Court, guys. I took an oath to the Constitution that says all life. And I can't vote for a bill that is actually going to codify that it's okay to use funding for some murders. It's just wrong. I think it's 1,200 and some babies a year in Idaho we're killing, and this is not going to stop one of them. We cannot stop that Medicaid money, and that's the only money that's going to these 4 providers. So I don't understand this fungible money argument, but these groups are not getting this fungible money. And I would challenge you to look on the state controller's site during other testimony on this bill. Just go look at how much money. It's the Medicaid money. That's the only money. We're not going to stop any money. We're not going to shut these guys down this way. And I can't support paying for the death penalty for babies. I just would challenge you to just stop compromising when it comes to pro-life issues. Don't compromise on putting bad language. Ma'am, please. Don't compromise on putting bad language in our code just because we feel like we have to do something, or it's an election year and we just want to make sure that we are so letting people know we are pro-life. This bill is not going to help promote that, and I urge you to vote no.
Is there further debate? The lady from District